Wow. Good afternoon. It is Friday, August the 9th, 2024. And Sarah and I just completed 10 to 11 miles of some of the most beautiful hiking in the world. We have just arrived at gorgeous Fish Lakes in Banff National Park, Alberta, Canada. I can say is we are definitely in the Rockies now, the backbone of America, the spine of the continent. The Rockies are an incredibly large range, and this is just one small portion of the range. You know, it stretches from northern New Mexico all the way up to Northwest Territories, and we're kind of like right in the middle here in the Canadian Rockies. And just this park, Banff, it is immense. It's huge. You know, it's intimidating looking at the size. Every time you turn around a corner, around a valley, a whole new range of mountains just appears. The immensity and the seemingly infinite amount of time that it took to make this landscape is definitely overwhelming. And Sarah and I are about to spend 7 days in it. We have a permit from Parks Canada to hopefully pull off a rather ambitious backpacking route here in the northern half of Banff. It is called the Clearwater-Red Deer River Circuit, if we're lucky enough to complete it. There's a lot of unknowns of what we're going into. The weather is iffy. We're going to have some route finding. We're going into grizzly country. And the space and the scale of the immensity of just the distances that we have to travel, it blows the mind. We were just looking at the map, and we have some very long days ahead of us. So regardless of what happens, you know, anything can happen on a trip like this. We may not get to complete the circuit. We might have to turn around at some pretty crucial river crossings. But no matter what, adventure is in store, and we are finally here. We've been through a lot to get to this point, and I'm really glad that we get to call Fish Lakes our first night's home on this Canadian Rocky adventure. This is the food prep area here at Fish Lakes, and before even going up and setting up our camp, we just came down and made dinner. That way we can hang our food sacks down here and all of our scented items, and then go find a place up in the main camp to put our tent up. Here's a shot of Fish Lakes with evening light. This is just down below the food prep area. There's this mountain rising straight up from the lake. And there's a lot of meadows, a lot of mosquitoes, and the backdrop looking over that way is just incredible. Alright, camp is set up here at Fish Lakes. As far as camps go, along this route that we have planned, our first and our last nights are going to be in established campgrounds. An established campground has a food prep area, a bear hanging pole, tent pads that are reservable, and this camp here is booked up tonight. There's quite a few people. Our last night, if we make it, we are going to stay at Red Deer, and in between we have 4 nights of random zone camping, which means we can pretty much camp wherever we want as long as we follow the rules associated with random zone camping. The day is winding down quickly here at Fish Lakes. We were greeted with a evening thunder shower. There's quite a lot of booms going on there for about a half hour with some heavy rain. Everything got damp again. The camp is just up there in the trees. I'm going to head up there in just a moment, crawl in the tent, and go to bed.
Rise and shine and good morning to day number 2 from beautiful Fish Lakes. We have beautiful morning light filling this cirque, touching the walls where there was no light yesterday when we came down through here. Very beautiful morning.
Well, everybody's getting all packed up here at Fish Lakes, and we're kind of taking off on our separate paths for the day. And one thing that I really like about established camps is you never know who you're going to meet or the really nice people that you're going to come across. And last night I spent quite a while conversating with my new friend Sam here, and I'll let him introduce himself and tell everybody what he's doing here in the Canadian Rockies.
Yeah, same thing. I was very happy. I spent an amazing quality time with you guys, with Sarah and Aaron. I'm initially from France. I've been living in Calgary for years, since 2003. I love Canadian Rockies, and I love the US actually. I would love to live there. It's an amazing country, a rich history. I'm a big fan of Native American history, and we bonded over metal, Iron Maiden. You know, it's my best band, my favorite band, and yours too.
He asked me what type of music I was into, and you know, he said heavy metal, and then I mentioned Iron Maiden, and you know, immediately, you know, just a complete bond over that music.
Yeah, great band. And you guys are really cool. Yeah, we really had some nice talk. You know, we were talking so much that I even forgot about my lasagna, right?
Yeah.
I had to hit them cold, right? Because we got a bit of a thunder yesterday and a bit of rain, but yeah.
It was some good weather, a little bit of everything. Sunshine, clouds, thunder, rain, and we didn't care. We just got under a nice bow of trees and you know, talked about everything. So, before we depart, I think we have one more last good thing to say.
Yes.
All right. Scream for me, Fish Lakes! Scream for me, Fish Lakes!
Good brother.
Good brother.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Happy trails, safe travels to you.
You guys are doing a rock. What you're doing is gonna kick ass. It's not like it's not a trail for everybody. It's backcountry, pure backcountry, and I wish you the best.
It is a little after 10 o'clock a.m. and we have hit the trail. The destination today is Devon Lakes. By this time, all the grizzly bears should be bedded down in some tree clumps because we're going into a place now where the rules of grizzly bear safety are going to be playing a major role. You know, for our safety, it's really important that we get into the habit of talking out loud, yelling on the trail. We have 1 can of bear spray apiece and a blowhorn as a first line of defense. Devon Lakes, we cross over into the Clearwater, pretty much free camping zone area, or random camping zone area, where we will be able to camp anywhere 100 meters off of the trail. I also expect the trail to come and go a lot more from this point on, and the route finding problems to become, you know, more prevalent. So pretty much the cushy, comfortable times sitting around the town of Banff and the established camps of Banff are over. The rigors of the trail, I think, are about to begin today. Anytime you come into a brand new meadow or come around a corner, it's always good to give a "Hey there!" just to herald your presence. Here's a porcupine right there in the bushes. This is an example of why this place is so overwhelming. Every break you come out of the trees from, you're just greeted with views like this. And they just keep going on and on and on. And every turn you take, a whole different range of mountains appears. Well, there's the second day's gathering storm. Already the clouds are rising pretty high up into the sky. We got a really good view of the first destination today, Pipestone Pass. It's hard to believe that this terrain that we're walking on is over 7,000 feet right now. We're as tall as the peaks in the Olympics, and the Rockies still reach even higher into the sky. You can see Sarah. She's out there making sure there's no grizzlies. We've just come over this hump on the trail, and the next view has been presented to us. And these meadows up here, they are like a Burger King Whopper that is completely just beefed up. We are on the brink, going through Pipestone Pass. Storm clouds are getting darker. And here's one last dramatic view down this drainage that we just hiked up. And we're gonna trade this view for another here, probably in about another mile. What a great spot. We have arrived at Pipestone Pass. It's around in the ballpark of around 8,000 feet above sea level. And it's a good thing that we took this upper route here on all these ledges, because it is not recommended to travel down in the valley, being a critical migration route for grizzly bears. Here's a pretty good view of the headwaters of the Siffleur River. We don't have much further to go along this portion of the trail before we turn east and leave this river drainage. Hey, bear! Not a lot of time spent in the Siffleur. Gonna have to come back and visit that valley in more depth and walk down into those meadows. We have found the spur trail, or the side trail, to head east. We've climbed up over this tiny little pass. It seems like we're just walking into a rainstorm here. We have just crested the last pass of the day, and we are dropping down into the headwaters of the Clearwater River. It's a welcoming sight. We're gonna head east now for a couple days, following the drainage down. So we're heading off into that. But Devon Lakes should be down there around the corner, and that's where we're gonna camp tonight. If we can find a spot out of this wind. It's about 3:30 p.m. and we have arrived in the Devon Lakes Basin. After some time spent hunting around and rooting through all these groves of trees, we have found probably the flattest spot to put a tent up in here. We're over 100 meters away from the trail, which is down over there. And this is the scenery from our second night's camp. Devon Lakes is actually behind us. We can't see them from here. We have to walk up to kind of like this little bluff. So this spot right here is why random camping is worth it. We're actually in those grove of trees right there, hidden very well. I did not drop down to this creek for water. It's kind of steep. I love how as soon as we got camp set up, the clouds went away and the unveiling begins. You can finally see the lower Devon Lakes. There's another one up in that little basin that we can't see, but I heard there's a camp down there. We just didn't feel like going and looking for it. We're pretty good where we're at right here. And here is the biggest of the Devon Lakes. It's definitely surrounded by tundra, high alpine meadows. I found this sign here that says absolutely nothing. I was talking about bears earlier, and as a safety precaution, when you're in deep bear country, don't eat around your sleeping area. So since it's nice and calm right now, it's actually beautiful out. I'm loving it. We came up here on this hillside away from our camp, and we're cooking and eating out here in the open. Well, we're just finishing supper, talking about our present situation that we find ourselves in and how awesome and indescribable all of it is. There's clear, distinct layers of ecosystems.
So we were talking about how you have the forest and the forest floor, and then you have like this little teeny tiny bit where you have trees and flowers, and then it's just suddenly miles of meadow, and above that is just rock. It's just very clear distinctions of the three layers that you find here.
Endless miles and miles of that type of terrain, of this type of terrain. It's mind-blowing, and we're in it for sure. With this random camp that we're in, like, I definitely feel like we've crossed over into a whole different level and whole different just realm of this trip. It's about to get a lot more exciting. We have a long day tomorrow, a lot of forest walking, and a lot more calling out for bears. It's kind of fun calling out for bears, and I know Sarah had a lot of fun doing it today. What did you think of all the hollering out for the grizzlies.
It's like a demented game of Marco Polo when you never want to hear back, Polo.
Good morning. Day number 3. I think this deer is drinking where I urinated last night.
Not a cloud in the sky, and it's warming very quickly. It looks like it's turning out to be a pretty nice day to begin with. And we are all packed up. And we're ready to throw those packs on our shoulders and our hips and make our way down the trail soon. Hey, bear! Before we left that beautiful spot, we just needed to take a moment up there on the bluff above our camp and take one last look at all of that, because it was a gorgeous place to spend the night. And it ended up being a really comfortable spot that was really sheltered. Really thankful for our ungulate friend. She was kind of like a natural warning device and definitely brought us cheer. The main objective today is to cover as much of the Clearwater drainage as possible and make it as close to our river crossing. It's going to be a long day of walking, but if we pace ourselves and keep talking and keep shouting out for those bears, everything should go by smoothly. The day is beginning with a series of willow flat after willow flat. Very damp. Feet are wet. This one's extra big. It goes all the way down into there. But there's been lots of flagging at regular intervals, which is really helping. I feel like someone's been through here already. Coming up to another piece of flagging right here. We have dropped down and down and down through the forest, and we have emerged, I think, at the valley bottom of the Clearwater drainage, and I think Clearwater Lakes should be just up here in this vast willow marsh. There sure are a lot of mosquitoes down here. This is Martin Lake. It's about the halfway point today of what we wanted to do. It's pretty chocolate milk like. Just heard a fish jump. And we got to ford the river here to get across and continue for the day. You can't really see it from the trail. I had to go through the brush just a tad to get this shot of the lake. Well, here is ford number 2 today. This one's a bit more substantial and big. It's definitely up to my knees. A little shallow spot right here. It's going to be another deep trough. Turn the face upriver. Sidewalk it. Almost to the other side. Woo! There, camp is all set up for night number 3. We hiked between 13 to 14 miles today. We stopped about 4:30 p.m. Lots and lots and lots of forest walking, lots of flat hiking, and I'd say that the bug combat was the worst today. We had mosquitoes at all of our camps, but it was like non-stop swarms today, hiking through all those flats of willows, overgrown brush, wet boggy spots. So we found this spot here in the trees, in the forest, not too far from our crossing tomorrow morning that we have to make over the Clearwater. We're also not too far from a nice freshwater creek for our water supply. There's a horse camp not too far from here that has quite a few people in it. So we decided to just slip off into the woods and find a nice flat grassy spot to set up our tent. So no spectacular views tonight. We're down in the trees for a nice relaxing evening in the forest. One thing that is very unique about these Rocky Mountain forests here in Canada is this layer of moss. It's everywhere. In the forests, there's not a lot of underbrush. So it's a good mixture of comfortable and spooky all at the same time. So things are winding down very quickly here at the end of day number 3. It is very good that the route has drawn us out of the high country. Last night was beautiful, but we are poised and ready down here in this forest to tackle probably the most challenging day of the route tomorrow. Another positive to being down here in the trees is just the thunderstorms. There was a pretty big one today. It rolled through for a good 2 or 3 hours. I could hear it off in the distance. The dark cloud artillery coming out of the sky and the constant rumble. The thunder here just rumbles. And you hear it coming, and then it's overhead, and then it passes by. And now the skies are clear, and all the dark clouds are kind of rolling away to hopefully, on average, we've been waking up to clear skies every morning, and then
You know, just about every day we've been up here, there's the 4 to 5 o'clock thunder hour. So, and then it goes away. We're just hoping that we can get through the circuit without it sticking around for an extended period of time. At least that's what we hope for, but Mother Nature tends to see things different ways. Good morning to day number 4. It does not take long to get into the camp and backpacking routines. Sarah and I are just getting faster and faster at getting camp picked up in the morning. The creepy woods did not let down last night. Just at that moment, before darkness took over and twilight, we were laying in the tent. Sarah was fast asleep and I was just sitting there. A ginormous animal right over in there crashed through the sticks. I could hear it lumbering, and it was moving quick, and it was just crash, 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 break, crash, all the way to the creek. And it definitely had me a little tense for quite a while. Kept that bear spray a little bit closer, but who knows what it was. It could have been anything. No confirmation. Okay, we have hit the trail. Today's objective is to successfully make it through the Peters Creek Trail. So what that's going to entail is within an hour here, we have to ford the Clearwater River. We have to locate the trail on the other side of the Clearwater, the Peters Creek Trail. And that goes through a pretty narrow chasm of mountains. And from all the intel that we've gathered, the trail is flagged. It's vastly overgrown with brush. There's a lot of buffalo berries in there. We don't know what buffalo berries are, but we can kind of put 2 and 2 together of what comes along with berries. And we got about 4 miles of that, so 2 to 3 hours of fun. And then after that, we got to ascend through Divide Pass, but everything should be good once we hit, the ascent up to the pass. And hopefully, if all things go according to plan and we make it out alive, we will be finding a place to set up camp, descending down on the southern slopes of Divide Pass. And this is the first big clearing we've come to. And there's some horses out here. You can smell a campfire. And our gap for Peters Creek Trail is that one right there. Okay, we're kind of entering the river bottom now. There's Peters Creek Gap that we're heading for, and the trail should kind of curve around. In the clear water, we can hear it right over there, so we're getting close to our river crossing. That is the footprint of Ursus horribilis, going the opposite way of what we're going. Here's the Clearwater River. So far so good. Lots of sign postage and lots of cairns showing the way. We're gonna put shorts on here so we can play in the water. What a fantastic drainage. We're at the most extreme depth of penetration into the wilderness right now. And we've made the turn, and we're heading south. And everything looks good to go. We can see the bottom. We've kind of planned the way across. We're gonna kind of shoot across over this way
to this shallow water right here and then work up, because the trail sign is right over there. Here we go. Woo! Feels good, first thing in the morning. First channel, safely across. And here comes Sarah right behind me. I had to do a little bit of route finding in that forest. We've found kind of this old stock camp, and we found the trail, a hint of it, and now we're going to follow it off in that direction there. There should be a trail sign, I think, on the other side of this willow flat, and we're inching closer to the objective today. You can really see the gap that Peters Creek comes through. That's still almost 3 miles away.
Marco!
One last look at the beautiful Clearwater drainage before we head into the trees again. It's a beautiful mega meadow. Lots of grass and not wet at all. This moss cover is probably a foot thick and is soft as a mattress that you buy at the store. Here's our first view after contouring through the woods for about 2 miles. We're going to drop down into this valley here. More tracks of Ursus horribilis. And you can see at the end of the toes there where the claws dug into the dirt. It's like the 5th crossing today. Here we go. Hip! Hey, bear! Hey, bear! We are climbing up now gradually towards the 4th mountain pass of this circuit. It's called Divide Pass, and all of the Peters Creek drainage is behind us now. We actually made pretty quick work of it. The trail is actually very decent in here. Easy to follow. And that's our pass right there. Now there's the Peters Creek drainage. We have broken free of that very abrupt layer of trees. And the pass is inside actually. It's just up there. Doesn't look too bad, pretty straightforward. Might get a bit windy. We have arrived at Divide Pass. There are a couple of herds of bighorn sheep grazing up there on that hillside. And now we're gonna trade one view for another and drop over into the next drainage. And there's a herd of bison. I was not expecting that. And just like that, we have passed through Divide Pass. We are descending the other side. It has rained at least a little bit every day of this trip. And as soon as we got through the pass, a pretty good hailstorm descended on us. You can kind of see it there off to the distance. And we're just continuing on here. After we got some rain gear put on, I think we're going to go up over this hill and drop down. We left the pass over there. We climbed up almost just as high as the pass over here, and we're greeted with this new view. Just look at those faces. Never-ending meadows up in that direction. In fact, that herd of bison moved around and they're grazing right down in there right now. Here is the Divide Creek Warden Cabin. We're going to take advantage of this sheltered porch. We're going to eat our supper here. And then we're going to head on down to the creek and set up a camp. How's that yellow curry tasting, Sarah?
It's one of my favorites. Sure it'd be awful at home, but it's fantastic up here.
Just like that, another storm has passed over, and it looks like it's starting to clear up for the evening. It's kind of the pattern that's been going on all week. here in Banff.
And she had tailed. I guess one of them could have got eaten, but
There is a moose
unbelievable.
over there on the hillside.
Well, day number 4 is winding down really quickly into the twilight hours. The crux day of the trip is behind us, and I can't believe that we're already over halfway done with the Clearwater-Red River circuit. I feel like today was like our most lucky day of the trip. First, to start off with, the Peters Creek drainage. You know, a lot of the reports that we read and the reports we were getting from people made it seem more dire than it really was. Sarah and I have been through worse bushwhacking for sure, and I think we found it to be one of the funner days of the trip, going in and out of the creek and finding all the ribbons. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 11 fords of creeks and rivers today. Then we got up to the pass, and Divide Pass was like a whole different change of pace. As soon as we got up there, for one, it started raining, but all the wildlife started appearing. We saw a herd of bighorn sheep. We were not expecting the herd of bison, which was really cool. And from there, we made our way down the pass, and we stumbled upon the Divide Creek cabin here. We weren't really planning on camping here. We were just going to eat supper, but we noticed that it looked like somebody was on post here. And then before we knew it, this really nice park ecologist come moseying up the trail, and really friendly guy, and we've just been visiting with him pretty much all night. And he gave us the okay to put our tent right here, being the safest place around. There are 3 grizzly bears around this area at the moment. So here it is, end of the day. We are camped at Divide Creek Warden Cabin. So it's pretty comfortable. Lots of amenities here, lots of cool structures, and one of the best views that we've had from a camp the entire trip. The wildlife encounters have not ended. Once we got here, we saw the first moose of the trip with a calf, a white-tailed deer, also with a fawn, and so yeah, it's just been a fantastic, exceptionally lucky day for us here in one of the most remote corners of Banff National Park.
So my name's Jonathan. I'm a park ecologist here at Banff National Park, and I'm privileged to be studying one of the world's only free-roaming herds of plains bison. So I was just out here in the backcountry this weekend working, trying to collect some vegetation data to sort of supplement our diet data to really understand what these bison are eating, because that could really affect where they go, how many bison we might be able to support in the landscape, and the kinds of interactions they might have with other ungulates like sheep or elk. So really lucky to be here. Great to run into these lovely folks tonight. It's made this trip even more fun than it already was, and just feeling lucky to be out here in Banff National Park.
Good morning, day number 5. It was the coldest night last night. A lot of condensation, very dewy, very drippy inside the tent, and the clouds are rising and getting darker a lot sooner today. There's some patches of blue sky though up there, but I don't know what's gonna win. Just seems a bit more hazy today, a lot earlier over the Rockies. As soon as we get packed up, we're heading right over that hump and dropping down to the Red River drainage. We are all packed up and starting today with the creek crossing. We're going to continue on Divide Creek to the next objective of the trip. The trail today is starting with a muddy slog upward. Not that much though, pretty gradual. We're going to crest over a small little pass and then descend way down to the Red Deer Valley, where we will turn west for about 5 miles. And we have one more night of random camping in the Red Deer Valley. We are descending quite a bit now. We've entered this burnt out pine forest, and this is the first view of the Red Deer River Valley. We're going to be down on the bottom of that at no time at all, and then make a turn in the circuit. We have reached the valley bottom, and a wide expanse of valley floor surrounded by Rocky Mountain peaks rising up pretty much in every direction. This place just never ends, or at least it seems like it's infinite. Well, here's yet another ford, and just as my feet are starting to get dry. We're making a great bend in the valley here. We were heading west, but now we're going to kind of head in a southwest direction up that stretch of the valley. A lot of forest walking today, right along the river. But coming hand in hand with that are waterfalls and rapids and cataracts.
He's got antlers on him, you just can't see him.
I'm willing to bet that those are some wolf tracks along the trail that we're following. And they are pretty big. For scale, there's my foot. And here is the Red Deer River Warden Cabin for Banff National Park. And we're gonna make camp, not like here on the grounds, but in the area. We're gonna first take our food out there next to the river. We're gonna cook supper out there because it's nice and breezy and there's fresh water. Yeah, the cabin's up there in those trees, but we're gonna come out here where it's a little bit breezy and it's knocking the mosquitoes back for our supper. And I have to say, it's a pretty wild, expansive view from this riverbank. We're just surrounded by peaks and valleys and river bottom. Plants have thorns to protect them from deer, The cabins in the Rockies have thorns to protect them from grizzlies. Looks like signs of Brantus canadensis. And these are the spooky woods we're going to spend the night in for night number 5. Well, we got camp all set up in the forest, and it's so pleasant out here. We just decided to come back out to the river where we ate dinner and spend the evening out here. The mosquitoes are really bad in the trees. I think it's just because they're sheltered. And it was windy out here earlier, but that wind has gone away and the mosquitoes have left the trees and they've followed us. So regardless, it's still really peaceful out here. I'm not gonna lie, definitely a little on edge. You know, seen grizzly tracks, seen wolf tracks. Not really afraid of the wolves, but the grizzly bears, you never know. They're unpredictable, but we've done everything, all the right precautions. We just hung our food, we got our bear spray, and we have a plan in case, you know, anything comes in the middle of the night. Our tent is kind of set up in a place where there's a lot of down trees and sticks around it, so we'll hear anything that tries to sneak up in the middle of the night. So in that case, you know, here we are along the Red Deer River. It's a lot calmer up here than what it was earlier. A lot of cascades today along the river, a lot of vast views across these humongous, ginormous, seemingly infinite U-shaped valleys. There's a lot of marshes and ponds around here. It's just a beautiful place. I can't stress that enough. I know I've been saying it a lot on this trip, but I mean it from the depths of my heart. You know, you got to come up here and experience the wilderness of Canada. It's worth it. Jonathan showed me a book last night. It was a guide to the Canadian Rockies, and there was a page in there about the route we're doing, the Clearwater-Red Deer route. And I was reading it, and I learned something that I didn't really quite realize when we planned the trip. Like, we're doing a 90-mile route. And because of bad planning, like, our last day is going to be close to 20 miles. So, like our waist belt, it's getting a little bit smaller, so is our food bag. So, and we still got enough food to do it, but we're gonna have to ration and just move slowly and conserve our energy for sure. So that makes us, I don't know, we kind of look at that as a success. 90 miles in 7 days, that's better than what we did Wonderland in when we first started backpacking way back in 2008. For the most part, the entire length of this trip, or for large, vast tracts of it, we've been alone in the wilderness, haven't really seen that many people. We saw one other backpacker, a outfitter group, and then Jonathan, and then the groups of people camping at Fish Lake. And other than that, we've been alone, and we've really enjoyed the solitude, the time to reflect, the time to be out here in nature and look at all the wildlife. And tomorrow, it's about a 10-mile hike for us up the valley, and we're going to camp at Red Deer Lakes, and we're almost certain to run into people up there. It's a very popular, beautiful spot, we've heard, and we're a little excited to run into people and start gradually going back into human society, but we're also deeply sad because we're leaving all of this behind, and we've really enjoyed the alone time out here with all of this. It's been very intimate. So, if this is the last night out here random camping, last night alone, let's sit here and enjoy the views as the sun goes down on night number 5. Well, good morning. Today number 6. We have hit the trail super early this morning. We woke up in the creepy woods, which actually ended up being one of the more comfortable places to sleep. The foot layer of moss added a lot of extra cushioning. So as soon as we drifted off, it was all Z's until the squirrels woke us up at first light this morning. There's also, along with the squirrels, the pelting of raindrops against our tent. So we quickly got up, rolled everything up, ate, and got out of there so we could hit the trail. I don't know, on average, I'd say we got about a 10-mile day today. The ultimate objective is Red Deer Lakes, and it will be our last night in the backcountry. I love these northern marshes and lakes. Makes me think of the duck factory where all the little ducklings are produced. There was a loon with that iconic sound of the north out here. The heavy rain is holding off, but it is sprinkling every now and then. Nothing too bad. Well, a day along the circuit would not be complete without having to ford a creek. And this is Drummond Creek, and we got to cross it here. And then up there at the head of the valley is Mount Drummond with the Drummond Glacier. And kind of cool because 5 days ago we were looking at the north face of that peak while we were going over Pipestone Pass. It's too bad it's cloudy and we can't see the rest of the glacier up there or the top of Mount Drummond. It's a pretty good ice cap up there. Sam at Fish Lakes Camp on the first day told us the natural bridge was worth the effort to go see. So we're going to go check it out. We got plenty of time today. So that natural bridge is just down there. And the sun is coming out and warming us up very nicely. And letting us see this gorgeous basin that feeds this creek. Make a really good campsite. After that brief detour to the natural bridge, we have made it back to the Red Deer River Trail. That was definitely worth the effort to go the extra 3 miles to see that. I love water features and waterfalls. They make the place feel alive for sure. Tons of movement. That mountain there looks like it has a bird flying right up its center. We have arrived at Red Deer Lake's backcountry camp. We have our tent all set up, our home for the night. Camp is in the trees, and it is booked up for the night. We're the 5th tent pitched. It is about 5:40 p.m. We have all of our camp chores done. Tent is up. Lunch has been eaten. We hung up our bear bags at the pole. We even took a nap. But we really don't want to lay around camp in the trees all afternoon when we are in one of the more popular areas of Banff National Park. So we're just going to take an evening stroll to the Skokie Lodge. It is a National Historic Site here in Canada, and just want to go see what it looks like and what it's all about. Here's a good view of the Skokie Valley. Well, this is it, Skokie Lodge. Built in the early backcountry days of Banff to accommodate skiers in the backcountry. Here we are at the end of day number 6 of the trip. It's that magical twilight hour. Some creatures are starting to get amped up and active and alive, like the loons, and some of us are starting to wind down and get ready to bed down for the night. It was an amazing day of backpacking. I don't want it to be over. I'm thankful we have one more full day of hiking tomorrow. So I better go back to my tent and crawl in that sleeping bag and get a good night's sleep. Good night, everybody. Good morning and rise and shine to the 7th and last day of this backpacking trip. Sarah and I are all packed up and we've eaten breakfast and we're hitting the trail the earliest we have the entire time we've been on this circuit. Even though it is the last day, it is not going to be without its challenges. We have one major ford of the Pipestone River. We're going to have some bushwhacking to look forward to. There's a section of the trail that we keep hearing that it doesn't exist anymore. The creek has washed it out. Nothing we haven't seen at all on this trip already. I think we'll make fast, quick work of it. The only issue and the only downside to today that might particularly hurt later is we got about a 20-mile day. That's due to a little bit of bad planning on our days when we were putting together this trip. We just didn't reserve an extra night in the backcountry. So we got to go from Red Deer Lakes all the way to Mosquito Creek Trailhead in a day. But there's a lot to be celebrated because today we close the circuit. Our camp was over in those trees right there. And it's nestled in what's called the Slate Range, which are all these little peaks. And kind of like a miniature version of Banff within Banff. Very claustrophobic. The valleys are close to each other. The Stokey Lodge is just over there in that valley. And it was just a really cool, pleasant evening walk through those peaks last night. Well, here's one of the Red Deer Lakes. The camp for Red Deer Lakes is nowhere near any of the lakes, and we're about a mile outside of camp. Here's the Pipestone River, the last major ford of this backpacking trip. The last of many, many, many. It's moving kind of swiftly. It's the deepest ford I've ever crossed here on this trip. Just like that. A long little rivulet right here. And we're over. So these are buffalo berries. We heard they taste like soap, but they are edible. The reason why they call them buffalo berries is because of all the spots on the underside of the leaf that look like buffalo on the plains. And I guess grizzlies really like these. So we should keep our eyes out for them in this area. So far we're making steady progress. All right, here's Molar Creek. And I heard it's gonna get kind of wet in here again, so I hope I didn't speak too soon about the Pipestone being the last ford. Here's another one. It is a beautiful valley though. So this is Molar Creek and the trail is gone in here. We've been warned about it. It's very wet and marshy. We're kind of just forming our own path till we get through this. In and out of stuff like this, stuff like that. And in a couple kilometers, we should link up with Molar Camp. And then after that, the trail should reappear again. Barn right over there. Over there, right there. The second major objective of the day has been reached. We have located Molar Creek Camp after a lot of sloppy walking. We're going to continue on. The trail should be easier to follow from this point on. The well-established trail has reappeared, and we are approaching now the last major objective of the day and the circuit. We have one more mountain pass to go over. South Molar Pass is the last ascent of this trip, and that's always a special feeling. Tell you, when this is all over, I'm gonna miss being down in these chasms with these walls surrounding us. It's a good thing we didn't keep following the creek up that chasm. And the trail's taking us up through the trees. And just like that, we have broken free of the trees. We are back in the alpine tundra. Our pass is dead ahead. We're going to stop for lunch up there so we can have one more taste of the good stuff. And that means Rocky Mountain peaks in your face. So this is South Molar Pass, and we are so close to closing the circuit. We have probably a mile and a half down the trail. We're going to be at the junction we were at 7 days ago when we came up Mosquito Creek. It's really hard to sum up a trip like this because I've pretty much said everything that there is to say, but I will attempt to keep it short and sweet. It rained a little bit, at least, just about every day of this trip. And I can hear the afternoon thunder power hour starting off there to the south. But that's just what makes the Rockies so cool and unique, are the storms. I really enjoyed witnessing them whenever we did. Trip had just about everything. Wildlife encounters. We did not see one bear in person. Tons of creek and river fords, lots of route finding, lots of epic mountain scenery like we got going behind me here. I mean, this trip had everything, literally. But the most important thing I guess I'm going to take away is, you know, anybody who's backpacked before or has spent a week out in the wilderness, it's a humongous reset. You know, we're about to go home. Every step we take in that direction, in about, I don't know, 4 hours, we're going to be comfortably sitting in our car, you know, and heading back home to our lives that we live outside of the woods. And I just feel like my soul, my mind, my spirit is all ready to go back and live a better life than I had before I came on this trip. So with that being said, closing down this loop, we're gonna go close the circuit in just a few minutes here and make our way down Mosquito Creek drainage.